Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Nightmare Hour podcast. I'm joined, of course, with my co-host, co-pilot, and nemesis, Eric Havens. I am Adam Roberts, and today we're going to be talking about the new Shudder film, Host.
A funny thing happened when we decided to talk about that, though. We set up here. We're going to do a podcast. We're like, let's talk about the hosts. So I tweeted about it on our podcast account, and the writers liked it. So me being me, I DM'd them. I'm like, hey, we're about to record
Slipped
a podcast.
Right in, didn't you?
I did. I slipped in their DMs. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, do you want to do a little like pop in? And he was like, now? I was like, yes. And before Adam and I knew it, we were joined by the writers of the host. So that's nuts.
Yeah. So we won't spend. We'll just quickly set this up.
No.
So this movie came out July 30th on Shudder. If you don't have Shudder, you can still get a free, I believe, 30-day trial by using the promo code SHUTIN, SHUTIN, all together. It's a great service. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably already have Shudder, but if you don't, this is a great time to try it out. This movie was conceived and released within 3 months.
Yeah.
It is the first feature-length film made in quarantine, and I think it does a tremendous job. It's 56 minutes. You can cram this sucker in anytime. It's
a Zoom meeting.
Our podcast about the movie is longer. Than the actual film is, but it was fun to go behind the scenes with a couple of the writers about the creation and their pure love for horror. So the interview will jump right in with Jed, and then Gemma will join us somewhere down the line, and it's a great conversation. I think this was fun. For us, this movie didn't exist to anybody 72 hours ago.
I know,
And then now we just had a full hour conversation about this film. So if you like it, do what you should for any of these films. Make sure you talk about them as much as possible so that so we can get more great films like this. Anything else before we jump right in?
I don't think so. Should we say to like us and rate us on iTunes now? Because they'll probably turn off before we come back after the interview.
Yeah, part. You're right. Yeah, so make sure with us, we have more guests coming up. We'll talk about them. Just make sure you're following our Facebook page and subscribe to our feeds wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, and where have you. And make sure you like us, rate us. And if you like these conversations, share them with your friends. You can email us at thenightmarehourpod@gmail.com. And without further ado, we're going to jump right into the interview with Jed and Gemma, the co-writers of Host.
Jed crashed into our pod first, and then I think it's like 20 minutes or so, and then Gemma was kind enough to join as well. So thanks for listening.
Wow.
Yeah. Hello.
Look at that. Look at that
Jed.
castle.
Hello, Jed. Thank you so much.
No worries. So, how are you guys doing?
Great. We just started our podcast, and I got your tweet back about the DM, and then all of a sudden this is happening. So the internet's a strange and wondrous place.
Gemma I'm trying to get Gemma, but she's probably eating her dinner. I was trying to get Emma in as well, Emma from her host, but she's also ignoring. So everyone's ignoring me today, so it might just be me, but...
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's way more than we expected when we woke up this morning and watched this movie, so...
Oh, nice. What do you think? Have I missed your review?
No, I honestly, I hadn't watched him. I figured this was the one movie that I should watch on my laptop and recreate the Zoom meeting as much as possible.
Yeah.
But I have not had so many shivers, and as I tweeted, I've actually, in my first time in my adult life with the movie, went, ah! I screamed out loud. So you accomplished that.
That's it's exactly what we wanted. We wanted grown men to kind of relive their youth and be scared of something they've seen.
My dog is very, very angry at you because I frightened him. He was laying next to me.
I was real time going 1 for 1 with the wine on screen. I watched it last night, and I was just on the edge of my seat, and the bottle was gone. And I was like, "Shit, this is getting too intense." It was great. It was. It's been a minute since I have been just purely on the edge of my seat and like actually scared. So it shows you can do a lot with a little still.
Thanks. Yeah. Cheers.
Did you want to talk about like how this all kind of came to fruition and like the process of getting this film written and then made?
I'm going to try and get Emma to come in as well, so I'm just going to post her the link. Hold on.
Okay.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then I will tell you. So essentially, Rob Savage is the director who I've done like a bunch of like short films with. And we're developing a bunch of features as well. Just all of our friends are filmmakers, and and actors and stuff. And we, at the start of lockdown, we created a WhatsApp group called the Quarantine Movie Club, where just every night we went on Netflix party. We picked the film on Netflix and just watched it together and just kind of discussed it. And in this group it's made up of all the actors that we've had in our short films. The VFX people, the stunt guys, the producer, the costume lady. So we already had like an infrastructure right there within this WhatsApp group. And then we kind of run out of films to watch on Netflix, as you do. And Rob then called me and was like, "Jed, I've got an idea for a." I'm the writer and exec producer, by the way, in case anyone doesn't know. He said, "I've got an idea for a prank to play on our friends." And I don't know if you've seen the 2-minute prank video, but that was the precursor. That was back in like April, I think, March, April. So it was really early on. He posted we basically recorded him scaring our friends, where he told our friends that there's a noise coming from the attic and it's annoying him. So we were like, "Oh, go check it out, Rob." So he put the phone down, got a ladder up to the attic. He went up there, and then he'd cut in ingeniously a jump scare from the film Wreck, and then he pretended to be dead. He pretended to fall off the ladder and die. 2 minutes long. You'll find it on his Twitter. It went viral and got seen by like so far about 6 million people across all of the different places that it was put. And off the back of that, we got a lot of press for that, more than we ever did for our kind of short films. And our short films have been in Sundance and all film festivals, but that 2-minute stupid video that didn't cost a thing got more attention. So we were like, okay, this is the way to go. So we had a lot of offers from different places to see what we could do with a longer concept, and we kind of pitched it to Shudder, who, as you guys know, are AMC's streaming platform for genre things. And they were the greatest. They said to us, "Here's the money." All we said to them is, "We've got this horror idea. Let us do what we want, and we'll come up with the goods." They just had to trust us, and we didn't even know if we could expand our initial 2-minute thing into a feature. So he was like, "Jed, do you have any ideas?" And usually how it works is most of the times I come up with the initial kernel of an idea, just like this meets this, or like, it'd be cool if I saw this. And then we went back and forth. But that particular night, before I went to sleep, I texted him 2 words: Zoom seance. And then I went to sleep. I woke up in the morning and he was like, "That's the film." And that's essentially what he told Shudder. He was just like, all you need to know is a Zoom seance. And they were like, have the money to make it. So our whole thing is we only want to use our friends. So we basically used the actors who we already know and who've been in our short films before. And so it's the 3 girls from this film we did called Dawn and the Death, and the 2 other girls were in the film that I directed called Multiplex. So that was all of the actresses in the group, really. So it was quite easy to pick them. and then me and Rob kind of got together and decided how this would be structured, and all of the kind of jump scares and all of the set pieces you see in that. We kind of had a rough idea of what we wanted to do, but because there are so many women on the screen, and we wanted to kind of concentrate on making it scary, we roped in Gemma Hurley, who maybe she'll turn up, maybe she won't. But and Gemma Hurley is amazing because she's the person that made us remember that this needs to actually like have some heart, and these characters you need to care about these characters in order to kind of worry about them, and also be care that they die, because you can't have a horror film without a good horror film without actually caring for the characters. So she added a little bit of heart to our kind of craziness and our madness, and we had a meeting with our stunt guys, because we have weirdly we have friends that are stunt guys, and I was actually going to do this stunt show reel before lockdown, so like luckily they're friends, so we told them exactly what we wanted to do. We didn't have a lot of money, by the way, so we told them what we wanted to do, and they were just like, fine, okay, we'll try. We've got an amazing producer called Douglas Cox, who did all of our short films, and we have an amazing friend called Steve Bray, who did our VFX. And it's just putting all of these people together, all of our friends, knowing that we've done short films before, into this. And we filmed every meeting we had before we started filming. We shot that as well for a making of, because we thought, oh, maybe people will be interested in how this was made. So we have like a making of thing coming. And yeah, we just started shooting, and what you see there is kind of what. Yeah, but obviously we didn't realize at all, and I don't think Shudder did as well, how much it would kind of capture the zeitgeist and just absolutely blow up.
Yeah,
I've never seen a film blow up like this, like on horror sites, on the internet, ever. Like, it's crazy.
It seems like the last couple of days have just been Twitter talking about this. It's like nothing else, at least my highly curated film Twitter.
Well, it's interesting is this movie, it was on no one's radar because it didn't exist until a week ago. Really, like there's no marketing. There was nothing. Well, 5 days ago, really.
We didn't even have a poster or a trailer until after it come out. That's how like we was just like, we'll just put it out.
Well, it's kind of genius though, and it seems to have worked in its favor, because I think it came out the 31st in the States.
30th, so it was Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember that night I had two people ask me if I had watched it yet, and I was like, "What do you mean? Watched what?" And they're like, "It just came out on Shudder, or it was Friday." And then I was like, "No, I need to watch it." And then yesterday I was like, "All right, I don't care what I'm doing." We didn't even decide to talk about it on this week's episode, but we were both like, all weekend we've heard you have to watch this Zoom movie on Shudder, and I think it works because it's not alienating towards the audience at all. It feels like our real everyday life right now, in the sense that, I mean, I don't know, Eric, if you've done a seance, but clearly you all as writers have done a seance or have some experience. And there's such a level of like hokiness to it that's like hard to set aside. And the whole setup is just, for the first 25 minutes, is just pure fun and just like hanging out like we all are. And everyone's, you can tell everyone's friends in real life.
In real life, they really are like the best of friends. Yeah. We speak every single day. We live host every single day, just doing quizzes and stuff, and it's just the same girls. So it's really weird that the whole world's seeing it. Now.
That's it. Like, we started this podcast because of the quarantine, and we have our podcast via Zoom just because we can't talk like much like you did. Like, we'd have our little round table of like horror nerds being able to talk about movies. So it's very relatable. And one of the things we talk about is like horror as allegory, and like how it responds to the terror of what we're all living now. And like, this movie could not be a better example of that. Like, it's literally what we're all living right now. And the fear in this is not too far separated from like the pandemic. Like, it's very related. Like, you could make all the like allegorical and metaphorical leaps there. So was that intentional?
To some extent, yeah. I mean, I think first and foremost, we just wanted to be a scary. Am I allowed to swear on this podcast, by the way?
Yeah,
you can say all the curses you want to.
Great. We just wanted to be as scary as fuck, and like because like myself and Rob are like die-hard horror fans. All I do all day every day is watch horror films, like and like to the loss of relationships and friends. I'm just like, I just want to watch horror films, but I'm like studying it, and I'm studying the set pieces and studying the how you earn a scare, because you have to. If you're putting a jump scare in a film, you have to earn it. You can't just overload. Terrible horror films just overload it with jump scares, and they think loud noises are what is scary, but it's not. What's scary is earning it and having the audience be 3 steps ahead of you in their mind, thinking, "Oh God, I know this is coming somewhere. I know this is coming because it was foreshadows." So you'll notice in this, like, every death is foreshadowed. Everything you see is a consequence of something they do right at the start of the film, like everything. But yeah, I can't remember what the question was, but that's the answer.
Yeah, it's a good answer. And before we get too far, I just have to say it's a small world, because your short, Dawn of the Deaf, a short I wrote, actually screened. Like, we were in the same shorts block at Fantastic Fest, so I saw Dawn of the Deaf with our short film. So like, I've read this, I was like, what's The Stylist?
Oh, The Stylist, that Jules. Right,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I'm the writer of that. So yeah, and we're just, our feature is coming out soon. So yeah, we just finished the feature. So
have you finished it now?
Yeah, well, we're doing like color correction and all that stuff. But yeah,
so
a small world.
Right? I've not met her, just online, just see her online and stuff, and seems cool.
I'll connect you all if you want to.
Yeah,
I've got the means.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it kind of started. Like, me and Rob did a film called Absence first, which did all right. But no, I love that film, but it was like, that's like a 3-minute film, but no one really talks about that. They think that we started with Dawn of the Deaf because that got into Sundance and Fantastic Fest and London Film Festival and all those. And then the film we did after that was called Salt with Alice Lowe, which was a 2-minute short, which is the reason that we're doing Hollywood movies now, because that blew up and everyone was like, okay, we need a Salt movie. But I'm not really allowed to speak about Salt movie, but when we are making that into a feature, and Dawn of the Deaf we're making into a feature, and I don't know if you know a lot about me, but I'm doing a film with Sam Raimi as well.
I just saw that. I did my 30 seconds once we started talking of research.
That is definitely all you need.
That's incredible, though.
Yeah, the crazy, like, my diary is tomorrow. I'm doing a table read with Sam Raimi, and it's great. Like, Sam Raimi is my favorite director as well, so it's like absolutely bonkers what's going on. And
Adam was actually
the host. Like, the Sam Raimi thing would have been amazing, but like these last few months is amazing.
I can't imagine. Like, do you wake up and just turn on the computer and just stare at it with like that face of awe?
well, since Host came out, I haven't really slept very much because my phone's blowing up with just people talking about Host and doing a million like podcasts and interviews and things. It's worse for Rob. Rob is like a man possessed. Like, he's got so much to do. And so it's been difficult to actually sleep. And one thing we wanted to do is, because there is really no marketing at all, like, we wanted to connect with everyone, so the whole cast and the crew and everyone is really switched on with social media, and they're just like, we need everybody to know about this film. Like, it's such a small little film made for hardly any money, and we just made it at home, but we want like as many people to see it as possible. And it somehow worked, and like, I don't know if now this is the formula, but like, it's worked. And I mean, I guess the film has to be good in the first place.
Yeah, I think you're going to suffer from the makers of the Blair Witch Project problem. That's where everyone's trying to make your film after this at a much like less successful rate.
Please do, but I feel sorry for them because their film's just always going to be compared now to Host. Even if their film is better, they're always going to be compared to Host. But it's funny because like Dread Central called us the scariest film of the decade, and said it will be up as important as the Blair Witch. And I'm like, what world are we living on? This is crazy.
I don't think
it's the best.
I think that they're probably right, though. This film has so many tiny little moments that I'm just like, I'm thinking about right now. When there's pure horror and they're running out of their apartment, they make it a point to stop and grab their mask, which I was like, holy shit! That was just like an incredible moment that it's so like a weirdly nuanced moment that just feels so real and today.
Yeah, like.
And was that a scripted moment, or is that something that was just like happened?
Well, they're literally playing themselves. The girls are playing themselves, and a lot of their interactions. I mean, I'd love to take credit for writing every single line they did, but a lot of their interactions are ad libbed. And Gemma, there's no way Gemma would want to go outside without a mask on, so like we had to, and she knew that she had to go into Haley's house, so it was. And obviously, you're not really allowed to go into someone else. Well, in the UK, you're not really allowed to go into someone else's house at all, really. But I think we shot that the week after, or a few days after, the government said, "Okay, you can go into one person's house." So we were like, "Timing's brilliant." So that's great. But like it's pretty manic here. You pretty much have to wear a mask everywhere. So it was intentional. But you are right. There's a lot of Easter eggs in there for horror fans, and a lot, and some of them I didn't even know about, and Rob told me, but we discussed loads of them, and loads of like homages to our favorite kind of found footage movies and horror movies in general. Like my favorite movie of all time is Night of the Comet. I don't know if you've guys seen that, but 1984 classic, Kelly Maroney and Catherine Mary Stewart. The one of the cool things in Night of the Comet is the high score table at the start. Reggie's always trying to figure out who this DMK is, and at the end it pays off that DMK is one of the last men alive, and that's on his license plate. The at the start of Host, the Zoom password is DMK, which is just a little nod to Night of the Comet because it's my favorite movie, and also we're friends with Catherine Mary Stewart and Kelly Maroney as well. From Night of the Comet, because it's my favorite film, I've just befriended them. And then last time I was in LA, like Kelly was just like, "Let's go for a drink." So we went for a drink, and then she brought Catherine Mary Stewart as well. So it was so cool, like the cast of my favorite movie.
I was so jealous that I've always wanted to write that great like horror trope of like a camera flash or anything where the light goes on and this darkness and the light goes on. That's like one of the best horror tropes ever.
Yeah,
and it was so great in this. I don't want to spoil too much because I'm sure a lot of people haven't seen this yet.
But like that's to me that's one of my favorite movies is the Audrey Hepburn movie Wait Until Dark.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's using that to great effect. And I was always like, oh, that would be cool. But if it instead of it being like a man just after a doll, if it was just like a demon. So, and I know there's a couple of jump scares in there, but like again, I think it's earned. I think it's not just it doesn't come out of like nowhere. It's like we foreshadowed everything.
Yeah, and they're like that, like, and you pace them like really well. Like they're intentional. They're not just there as a crutch. Like you hinted them, and sometimes where the jump scare should be, it's not, and that's more terrifying than if the jump scare was there. And you pace it so well, and when it happens, you made me scream and scare my dog. So
yeah, exactly. Oh, Gemma might be joining it any second now, by the way, so you'll get her point of view.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like the some of the references that you'll see in there as well is one of my favorite found footages films is Ghostwatch. Do you know Ghostwatch?
Yeah, Ghostwatch is awesome.
Yeah, I think so. It came out in 1992. It's one of the first kind of proper found footage things. But Shudder put it on there a few years ago, and I think that's how a lot of people discovered.
I watched a bootleg. It never came out officially in America until Shudder, and I watched a bootleg, I think, on YouTube like 10, 12 years ago. And it still worked. It was a crappy quality, like a VHS tape over to the internet. And But it is. It's like I was like astounded that because they basically just play it like War of the Worlds is happening because that's how they sold it. A live thing.
That's how it played in the UK. They put it on TV and they use presenters who present TV shows normally in the UK, so no one knew it was fake. And it went out and it caused chaos and some people committed suicide, and that's why it was banned in the UK for many years because it was apparently irresponsible. But I was like, when I saw it, I was absolutely loving it. I was like, this is the thing. So you'll see some of the set pieces we have in there are homage to Ghostwatch as well, and it's just because it's British as well. We wanted to kind of like nod to that. And actually, the writer of Ghostwatch, I was on a podcast with 2 years ago, and I said to him, do you think there'll ever be another Ghostwatch? And he laughed and said, oh, maybe you'll make the next Ghostwatch, which is that's weird foreshadowing there because we've been compared to it.
Yeah, that's a great comparison actually in terms of like found footage because that movie is like the closest thing to a found footage version of like Poltergeist.
Yeah.
And I think what your film does, it's not a family, but you could make a big argument that Friends are adult families, and this just feels like you're just sitting on, six best friends just chatting, and it doesn't even matter that we don't get like every bit of their jokes because you just know that they're like fully embedded with one another, and then after that 25-minute mark, it's pretty astounding because you fully go for 28 minutes on a roller coaster ride. And so what was it like to write? This all happened very quickly. What was it? Were you guys just writing as you shot and adjusting?
No, really, really. Obviously, you had to be really, really fast because our thing was it has to come out during this situation, and we didn't know when it was going to end. We were told by our government that it's probably going to end in like June, like back in March, April. We started in May. We told it might be finished in June, July latest. So we're like, okay, that we need to make this fast. So we basically had the structure of it, me and Rob, and then when Gemma came on board, I think she was just about to join. When Gemma came on board, we kind of fleshed it out a little bit more. And she'll still say this. She didn't, because she's the only one that wasn't a friend to start with, but she's obviously a friend now. And the good thing about that is she could witness the girls interacting without all of the. Hey, here she comes. Hey, Jen.
Oh, there you are.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome.
That's Eric and Adam, by the way.
Hey, sorry for jumping in randomly in the middle.
No, I like it as well.
No, it's absolutely brilliant.
We were just talking
amazing.
about you, literally.
Oh, what did I miss?
You not want to know. No, Jem, do you want to say about how you kind of joined the project and like how we wrote? I've been speaking for ages, so you can speak.
Oh, well, hey guys. Yeah, I guess this is the thing because I wasn't even sure how much I don't even know how much you kind of knew about how I got involved originally or anything like that.
I think you were originally meant to possibly come onto another project with me and Rob last year. Yeah,
like because I was introduced to Rob by a mutual producer friend of ours, and it was like, oh, you guys love horror, let's do something together. And like, obviously Jed, Rob, he's so affable, and it was just like this amazing day of just like, oh my god, like horror exorcisms, blah, blah, blah. Like I want to work with this guy. And then that project, I don't, whatever happened with that, and the pandemic hit. And I saw that amazing prank video that you guys did, and I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing. And I guess that was just like, female writer who likes horror, let's collaborate. And I think that was literally it. Like it was, and I still haven't met you or anyone else in the crew. It's just been such a strange and unusual process of creating anything like remotely. It shouldn't work, but it did. It feels like we've gotten away with something that we should.
Yeah, it does. Did you? But like, obviously, I was saying like you were kind of introduced to like a storm, like halfway through a storm, like the storm was in full flow, and you like walked into it. Like, did you think? What did you think? Sorry, I feel like I'm intervening.
No, this is great. This is perfect. Let's do it.
Perhaps the conversation we should have had at the beginning.
Yeah.
This is your interview. This is your actual interview.
What was your feelings about going into this? Because you were like, who are these guys? Like, what are they doing? Like, and because I remember we were coming out with stuff and explaining to you what the situation was, what the project was. And I remember looking at your face and like it was excitement, but also how are we going to do this?
Well, I think it was like one of those feelings I still kind of have. I still feel like I'm in that kind of like, well, this isn't. You're not really going to do this. You're not really going to be able to pull this off. Like this is, I suppose you have this. I mean, there's lots of kind of like bullshitters and optimists and this kind of thing in our industry, right?
So many.
Yeah, but like and it's like, but there's something about, I guess your team or you guys. It's not just you can't just get away with that. You really do not only have the kind of like. Sorry, I just realised this sounds like a really brown nosy thing to say.
Oh no!
He's like, continue, please.
Continue, please. But the hard work that like I don't understand how you like with the creative process it was like 2 weeks, right? We like came up, you already had the premise of like seance in lockdown, and we probably spent about 2 weeks like coming up with that kind of beat sheet. It's like I think we've got like a 17-page
scriptment kind of.
Yeah, like these are the beats for the actors to hit. Like this is the structure, the dynamic, and then it was and then the hard work to pull that off in the time. I think that's quite a rare combination, and I guess that's I guess that's why it's such a unique magic thing that people seem to be responding to so well.
Yeah, you missed our compliments prior, so we can give them to you real quick. I went 1 for 1 with the bottle of wine and the women on screen drinking until my bottle of wine was gone when the shit hit the fan about minute 30, and I was just on the edge of my seat having to simultaneously not piss myself and also pissing myself. It was incredibly well done, Eric.
And I saw it after Adam, and he was sending me texts before I watched it that were all claps, like, "Oh God, I love this." So I intentionally set up downstairs for myself with the laptop. I recreated the whole. I figured this was the one time not to watch a film on the big screen, like to recreate the Zoom meeting feel. I set it all up, put the headphones on, just became one of the seance members.
Perfect.
And I've had like we mentioned Blair Witch a little longer. I think that might be the last movie that I saw where I felt like so physically affected when I was done watching it. Like I felt a little weak. My muscles were a little rubbery. As I told them, my dog was laying by my feet. I screamed out loud once and scared my dog. So yeah, this film, we weren't going to talk about this film, but like this wasn't on our radar at all, but people have reacted on it so much and we checked it out. And as lifelong horror fans, we're like, oh man, this thing changes a lot of like this changes the scenery of horror movies. I
think.
That's Gemma, such high praise. Eric wrote a cool short film called The Stylist that did the festival circuit with Dawn of Death. That's been made into a feature as well. They've just finished it.
Yeah. So it's a small world. I saw his credits with Dawn of the Deaf. I'm like, hey, I remember that film. Were you at Fantastic Fest? Did you make it there?
No, try to. I think it clashed with London. I think it clashed with London Film Festival, or clashed with another big festival. So I'd love to go. I'd love to go there. Really, really would.
It's a strange time. Like it's really like makes me nervous to even think about now because it's one of those fests because it's in that tiny little theater and you are just shoulder to shoulder with everyone. And now that just makes me feel like all itchy now. Like I need my mask. I need my
It's been cancelled right this year, or was it online or something?
Yeah,
cancelled.
Yeah, they cancelled it. But your two workflow. That's what I'm kind of interested. Did you guys did you all sit together when you're writing, or just like send each other stuff, or was it conversation based?
I've never actually met Gemma in real life. Because this started in lockdown. It was 12 weeks from conception till when it was released. So we did everything over Zoom. The entire thing was planned over Zoom, and we recorded everything. So first time, I think the first time I met
you didn't know that.
You just hear all of our stupid ideas that got kicked out.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Well,
is that going to go on the behind the scenes?
Yeah, loads of behind the scenes. Okay. So the first, we have recorded when we told our friends that we were going to make a film, and like a full film based on a 2-minute prank video, basically. And they were like, "What?" And they were like, and we were like, "Are you going to do it?" And they were like, yeah, sure." They didn't realize what it was. Like they couldn't comprehend that we were going to make a film in lockdown. And we didn't really. I don't think we really thought about how we would achieve it. But the great thing is we have a producer called Douglas Cox, who is the glue that kind of like held everything together, and he got everyone together and make sure all the admin side of things, which is really important on movies, is all taken care of, so we can think of the creative stuff. But the process between the kind of the writing team is just, isn't this cool? This would be cool.
We had a Google Doc.
Yeah, we had a Google Doc, and
we were just like commenting on things.
Yeah, and like the fun thing was just like, okay, how is this girl going to die? What cool way could this girl die? But
that's also, how normal people wake up, right? It's just like, that's their first question.
This is how Jed wakes up.
But you're also limited, right? You're like, but they only have what is in their apartment or this one room.
Yeah, but it's not like Final Destination where you only. It's about the how. We thought about the why as well. It's like, why will they die in this way? What's the spirit? Why did the spirit make them die in this way? And that's where the foreshadowing comes in. So we kind of used some horror tropes that from our favorite movies, subverted them a little bit, and kind of built upon the foundation of things like the Blair Witch and Paranormal Activity to make our own Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah. So did you guys pretty much write out beat by beat in that Google Doc kind of how it was going to go, and then just go back in and kind of throw whatever dialogue you needed to, knowing that did they improv quite a bit because they were
Most
such good friends?
A lot of it is, yeah.
Because you know so much dialogue that we
you know how in Blair Witch it was literally point A, here's point A, here's point B, find a way to get from A to B, and maybe go via C. And I think Rob is absolute genius director, and he always gets the best out of his actors. And so obviously there would be more than one take. You're not just seeing the first take; you're seeing multiple takes. And sometimes you just catch gold. Sometimes you just catch lightning. And a lot of the things that people remember about it are from the actors themselves. Like Happy Spookies is like something like it's just a line that Emma came up with, but we love it. Happy Spookies. That doesn't make any sense, but like it sounds cool. So we've been saying hashtag Happy Spookies everywhere, and people have been saying it back to us.
So I do know Eduardo a little bit, and I remember when I first met him, I was chatting about how he thinks the influence of Blair Witch has impacted the world. And of course, it took about 10 years to even get Paranormal Activity, and this was in probably 2015. I was talking to him about the impact, and Ed said he was shocked that we didn't have more of a fall. Of course, Hollywood became found footage crazy, but what he was saying is, of course, what we all say is we all have one of these in our phones, and they all shoot 4K and things like that. And then over the last couple of years, we've had movies like Unfriended and Cam and things like that, which work, but they have like a level of disconnect. And I think what makes Blair Witch so special is that we believe these characters are so human, and probably because you didn't heavily script their dialogue and you relied solely on their own level of being a family and friends. I think what we see here is probably the first true, and Eric, I think you already kind of hinted at it, like first true evolution of technology and horror in a way that we haven't seen since '99. You could say Paranormal Activity, but that's really just kind of doing the same thing, and it's a little wooden because they did script it still, but here it was so absorbing, even when it gets totally, bonkers, I don't care, because I'm just like, oh no, this can't happen. And then like when it runs out, and it was like, oh yeah, her cell phone sucks.
Oh God,
sucks, and it's cutting out. And I was like, that is the best callback. And
everything. There's loads of callbacks, and the great thing is, obviously we wanted to make it as real as possible, and we did take tips from the Blair Witch, where those actors used their real name. Heather Donahue used her real name.
Yeah.
We've used the real names of all the actors here as well. And that adds a level of authenticity that you don't get in films like Unfriended. Even though I love Unfriended, by the way.
No, they're great, but they're totally different. But there's a reason why I think their impact wasn't this so far.
Yeah,
it's only been a number of days, and the impact just is going to keep growing too. I mean, by this weekend, it's going to be a fever pitch, right?
Oh God,
it really will. We've got some cool things coming up this week as well. So. Yeah, actually, you probably don't know. I told you some of them, Gemma, but there's another couple of amazing things that's going to happen this week as well.
I still I don't really ever use Twitter. I've only really properly been using it this week, and it's feels like it's broken. Like I don't know how. It's like I can't see everything. I don't understand. Like how do people use this? So I don't know. It feels like a dream. I think what you were just saying then about it does feel like it's. I feel like it's those little moments that you're referring to, like when the Wi-Fi drops out when she's running away, or like at the beginning with that whole looping feedback thing with Gemma. I feel like that's one of the right from the beginning. You guys had this. It just feels so recognizable, and like that's me. And you see it. You see my life, and I think obviously it's all with the kind of. There's this drone of the lockdown in the background or the pandemic. We don't want to shove that down people's throats about this isn't Pandemic the horror movie. It's more about the lockdown culture, what it's done to us. But I think that's one of the real strengths about it, which perhaps wasn't something we necessarily thought would be so impactful or engineered consciously, but that whole feeling of you see what I'm going through on this day-to-day basis in this really and I feel like that might be part of what draws people in and makes them feel oh God, am I part of this seance? Am I part of this Zoom? It feels so relatable, I guess. I think that's why.
That's a great way to put it, because one of the other things about Ghostwatch I liked is when it came out, obviously there was no such thing as hashtag, but a lot of people in the press and just talking about it would call it a national seance. It was like a national seance because everyone was talking about it. Everyone was looking at this spooky thing on TV and everyone thought it was real. And I feel, this might be blowing smoke up ourselves a little bit, but I feel that this is like an international seance. This is, we've created something that's giving people a window into these people's lives, and you're there in the seance with them, and the seance hasn't stopped. It's they never closed the seance properly, so it's still happening.
Well, I think you all just tapped into something kind of intentionally because of necessity, but a little bit maybe by accident. Like we were talking with Jet earlier, is one of my favorite things to evangelize about horror is how important it is as a world for us to deal with real life fears and stuff and how it's always been allegory. In the 50s, we had our nuclear monsters, and you go through the decades, and it's been dealing with a very safe way to deal with our own evolutionary fight or flight. And it's this contained space where we can deal with real life fears. And you've not only bridged the gap of the technology and stuff, but you're dealing whether you meant for it to be a pandemic film or not, it kind of is. It's like the lockdown, the masks, the fears, it's all in this movie, and not a clunky, and not a clunky way, not like pandemic,
very
movie,
organic,
but in a way that captures things. Yeah, it captures a lot of the fears that we all feel every day, in this fun, thrill, terrifying, scare your dog kind of way.
The fun of it is that means a lot. Hearing you guys say it's fun, because I think that's part of its charm. When we did a lot of research at the beginning of what do we want this film to feel like, Invisible Man, for instance, is such a good film, but I didn't want to feel like that right now. I don't want to feel dread. I don't want to feel claustrophobic in my home, at this
you wanted to feel like Hollow Man.
Yeah. I wanted catharsis and a little bit of joy, but also, you know, like when we go to horror movies can be like going to a theme park, right? You know, the scares, the joy, that, you know, they get it. I just want this horrible tension out of my body. I think that's one of the things that we really wanted this film to be. We wanted you to care about people. We wanted to laugh along with them. And it sounds like, I hope that is
it is. And I'm like an old jaded horror fan, and for me to feel that again, like that the endorphin rush of like the fear and that fight or flight, and then like be done and be like, oh, everything's okay, and you just kind of like let it release, and it's like therapeutic in that way.
Yes,
it is.
It is. And like just because like that people can't really go to like, or you can go to theme parks now, I guess, but you can't really kind of go to theme parks without thinking of like bad things or go next to people. And this is like experiencing like an adventure, or like being on a roller coaster, and like the rush you get when you get off it, like, wow, I lived through that. And this is when people watch it, this is what we're getting online. We're getting the rush of endorphins and the adrenaline, and people going, we lived through this film. We made it to the other end, and that's what's so exciting. Everyone's posted like reaction videos and things, and it's so cool. It's
Is it a 56-minute reaction video?
Oh yeah. Are we going to do like a live watch along with like people at any point? That would just like do
that was
like
one
a real.
So mute 100 participants and mute all of them and just watch. Everyone watches everybody.
It's been arranged.
Okay, say no more.
Yeah, because it's going to be cool.
So one thing you guys did incredibly well, and I'm just revisiting the cast list, and instantly I can feel those characters and what they're going through individually. Like Radina, for example, her and her new boyfriend who just moved in together and who are spending quarantine together, and how trying that is on them. I mean, we all know these people, and you know, the one that went back and is living at home, and what they're going through. And then you have, you know, Haley, who's kind of like the shut-in, who maybe is having like a pretty heavy bout of depression, it appears.
Well, there was definitely seemed like there was a backstory reason we never got why she wanted this seance, like why she was so intent on this.
There is something so interesting when people talk about that, because you notice she says she's done this before, and she knows this this medium as well. And like I don't think we thought too much about that when we kind of like wrote that.
Well, I feel like we had some kind of like, because obviously in some ways these are based on this cast, because they are real people, but in other ways it's not. In other ways we've like, you know, completely like, that's a trait, let's dial that up or like dial that down, and let's create this like false kind of tension that, you know, that doesn't exist between Gemma and Haley in real life.
They're the best friends.
You know, and Radina and Alan are not like, you know, lockdown drama. You know,
Alan's great. Alan made me some food a couple of weeks ago, and he's an amazing cook, so he's a good guy.
But
he only knows how to cook though. He's kind of cooking in this movie.
But they are recognized. They are these recognizable like people, I suppose, that you kind of you put what you want on them as well. And we obviously we don't have time in the Zoom call to give these big backstories about who these characters are, what they were doing 5 minutes, what they were doing 5 years ago. But I think that's, you know, it's like screenwriting 101. You want to kind of find out about these characters through how they interact with each other and the group dynamic, and how they, you know, what they're acting in the seance, and that's how we learn about them. And we can imagine what these kind of like why Haley's character has done this before, or like why Gemma, you know, I think this is one of the things that didn't make it into the film. Like I think in the end it just didn't. I think this is definitely the right decision in the end, but we had this whole other story about where the Haley and Gemma storyline escalates to, and like what you kind of learn about the backstory of their relationship. But in the end I think it was a good call. It's like it's not needed.
The loose ends are great, actually. Like I think of the Teddy character, for example. We only need 3 minutes of Teddy in this entire movie to know who that person is, and we all know. We all have a Teddy. You know, he's the teddy bear of the group, but he's also like he fucks up a lot.
we got so lucky with Teddy, because Teddy's actually the only one of the group who wasn't in our quarantine movie club chat to start with. The reason why I brought him in is because I mean, this is a little bit of spoiler, so in advance, I just really wanted us to set someone on fire. So we, because we're friends with a group of stunt guys, and they were gonna, just because I wanted to see me and Rob on fire. Can you just set me and Rob on fire, just see what happens? So we were gonna have be fully done up and set on fire and just film it and put that online just to see what would happen. But that never happened. So we found someone who's specifically certified to set himself on fire, and who is a good actor, which is so
and
lucky.
got on with the girl.
And that was Teddy, yeah.
Feel like a gang.
Holy shit! Wait, you really set him on fire in this?
Yeah, that's not CGI. He's on fire.
Well, it's all through Zoom, right? And it's so there's a level of and fire looks so much better than it ever used to, CGI fire. And I'm like, surely they didn't actually set him on fire, right?
No, totally. We didn't have the budget to do CGI fire. No way.
Is it like a gel that they put on his face that was?
Yeah. So basically, and that gel gives you a certain amount of time for protection, because obviously you couldn't put too much on him, otherwise it wouldn't look like him. So you get a certain time.
Yeah. I don't like the sound of that. A certain amount of time.
The clever thing is, it's the slow creep of the fire up his clothes as well, and that's quite hard to do, because usually it would just go. It's the slow creep of the fire.
Was nauseating to watch. I mean, it stops at the right point, but that's also why I thought it wasn't real, because I've never seen real fire creep on an actor who's just laying there, and you just watch him crawling, and he won't wake up. You're like, just wake up, dude! Just scream.
Yeah, and that's the thing on that scene. What makes it is Emma's acting there is one of the highlights in the film for me, because you've seen Emma. There's actually 3 different set pieces she goes through before she kind of gets to that position under the blankets. And her reaction to see because Emma didn't know that was going to happen. We hid part of the script and the kind of story beats from the actors, so they didn't know how each other were going to die. So her reaction to Teddy burning is the first time she saw that, and that's her reaction. Because
wow,
yeah, and that along all everyone's deaths, no one knew they were coming. So you get their real reactions.
Did you? I'm guessing a lot of it wasn't filmed live, so they would watch the clip of them actually burning that was already pre-recorded.
So we filmed all of the deaths first, and so we could play it in during the actual film. So what you're seeing is them seeing it for the first time and reacting to it all the way through. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's kind of. I mean, no one's ever done this before, but
no.
It's and obviously Ginny, Teddy's girlfriend, that stunt was one you'll see in the behind the scenes thing. I don't know if you were in that meeting, Gemma, that Zoom meeting where we were with a stunt guy for the first time. Maybe not, but we pitched to them. Actually, I think it was even before we got to you, because it was one of the first things we wanted to do. It was like we've got this idea for a stunt. And I just really wanted us to have someone go really high in the air, their neck to break, and just slam into a swimming pool. But we didn't, in general. But we didn't know anyone who had a pool. But luckily, that's Teddy's real house, or Teddy's family's house. So he had a pool. So we found someone who could do that, and that's how we cast Ginny, because Ginny was able to do that, and they did all of the stunts themselves. Those 2 anyway, and the others had to set up all of their equipment themselves, their sound equipment. They had to mic themselves up. They had to get their camera ready. They had to work out their lighting, which was mostly natural lighting anyway. But
and realistic acting that's charming.
Yeah. It's charming. Yeah,
give those guys an Oscar.
They're going to get loads of awards. But can I ask Adam and Erica a question?
Sure.
Cool. Who would you say is your favorite, or do you empathize with the most out of the Zoom girls? And also, what was your favorite death?
So Gemma reminds me of one of my high school best friends. She's nice. Verbatim that person. And so like immediately when she became on screen, which is like within the first 4 minutes of the movie, I just connected to her immediately. And and I'm so glad she makes it as far as she does. And best death. Well, now that I know the fire's real, the fire blows my mind. Teddy's death is very I think harrowing is the best word, because it happens. He's so blindsided by what's happening. He answers like, "Hey, everybody, what's everybody fucking doing?"
He has no idea what's going on.
And then 3 minutes later, he's dead. Yeah,
instant karma.
And he also he's the only one that witnesses in real life somebody else dying in front of him. So he sees her neck break. So I think he has the worst go of it, because he comes in and he doesn't know that all of his friends are dead. Then he sees his girlfriend die, and then he slowly burns. So I think his death is just horrible.
Yeah. Torturous. I would agree with that being the most brutal death. And like the aforementioned me screaming was during that part, because he's the first one that really gets like the true jump scares with the demon. And just like, and it built up so much to finally see it, and just like that made me scream. But as far as characters, I have to say, like, just Haley is my like what I identified with, just because I've always been that kind of like downer of the group. Like, guys, there's rules here. This is serious. We have to do this. We signed up for this. That's me. So
she was American as well. She's our American friend. So which that helps.
So for not knowing anything, it starts with an American, right? And then like the second person, I'm like, oh, she's British, and then like it's like, is somebody this
Bulgarian as well?
Yeah, I'm like, there's like so many different accents happening. I'm like, where the fuck was this movie? It doesn't matter because it's over Zoom.
Exactly, it could be anywhere.
It's London, darling.
Yeah, London.
Melting. Yeah.
Well, for Gemma, 13 weeks ago, you didn't even know Jed?
Yeah.
No, you didn't, did you? No.
So how has it been, this whole process, in a blink of an eye, essentially?
Well, I mean, obviously it's also just been the weirdest time of everybody's life who is living right now. So it's kind of, I can't really, I don't know, I feel very off kilter in a way. Like, I mean, my everyone's saying like, oh, how well the script is written and stuff like that, and I feel like, well, I can't really take too much credit for that, because like, as we were talking about, it's been improvised, like the dialogue and stuff like that. I was really involved for about like 2 and a bit weeks at that kind of really initial, like, let's like figure out what the dynamics are and the tone.
It's the most important, I think, time, because it's building the infrastructure which everything's built on, and if you don't have the foundation, then this house would come tumbling down.
But it was just so,
help to build it.
And it has to be so strange for both of you, just from a fellow screenwriter, is like, for the stylist was at the 2016 Fantastic Fest, and we're just now finishing up the feature. I know how slow this business works. So to be like 13 weeks later and be like, oh, we have a movie now.
The like, fruits are here.
It is insane. And it was, I think it's everyone's really, it's just been a joy, I guess, is the best way to explain it. Like, I'm sure for like everyone involved in the production, there was also this kind of element of probably of like, oh God, like I'm losing my mind because I haven't slept and we're filming this and editing it. It's an impossible thing, but somehow we made it possible. For me, I've just been like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Like, everyone's been so.
I mean, that's the writer's life, isn't it? You just kind of. You have a blitz of like intense work, and then you go, there you go.
And
but then
like,
you don't usually see the results for like a year. So this has been great.
I mean,
the stylist feature set was like the most magical time of my life, because I could just be like, like, you all are doing so much hard, stressful work. I'm going to go to the buffet table.
Well, our buffet table was our fridge.
When was the film finished? When do we have our crew screenings? That was the first time I'd like seen the finished film, and it was, I'm sure it was less than a week ago.
Last week, Wednesday.
Wow.
What? Yeah. First time.
Talk about accelerated. Jesus.
Yeah. We were all watching. I was like, laughing the whole way through of just how ridiculous this was. So I'm still kind of like, what? We made a film? So
did it have that same effect on that screening? Was everyone like realized how effective this was and like what a great movie this was?
Were you just
I don't think so. I don't think people understood how big this was going to be, and if they say they did, they're absolutely lying. We knew it was cool. We knew it was good. I was really proud of it when I'd seen the first like rough cut, which was only about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or something. I was like, oh, we've really got a great film here. Yeah, like this is plain sailing. And then the little touches that happened in the last couple of weeks that was done. Sound design, the little like graphic things that are put in. You don't understand the amount of work to make it look like a Zoom call, because you know how I'm speaking, and then there's that yellow box around me. We obviously had to copy that. We had Zoom's permission to use any of their graphical user interface, but just if you think about how we filmed it, we had to make sure it matched exactly, because people would call us out. The very little things like all of the participant chats, share screen, record reactions had to be the same. Everything
bumps you otherwise.
Yeah, but yeah, it's the reaction from the cast on when we showed it was more like relief. They were like, "Wow, okay, so that wasn't a waste of like 12 weeks." But then on the day it launched, well, actually, it's a couple of screenings that went out to a couple of journalists during the week leading up to the launch, and we were like, "Oh, like a couple of people like it. That's great." But I don't think it went out to very many people, because we only finished the film on Tuesday last week. That's when they handed it into Shudder last week, Tuesday.
And the trailer came out after the film was out.
Trailer came out on Saturday. The trailer came out.
Just like no like build up or like
it really was a trailer, like in the old Hollywood. But
like none of us knew. But like me and Rob are quietly confident that we know horror. All we talk about is horror with each other. I'm surrounded by 1,200 VHS essentially in my bedroom right now, and it's all like old school horror presets and obscure British horrors that no one's ever seen and will probably never see again.
It's all video nasties, the whole collection.
Video nasties, bootlegs, and stuff. And I'm watching these all the time to get like inspiration and like little things that, because you'll notice in some of our shorts, there are like things in there that people think, oh wow, that's an ingenious thing to think of, but it's probably from like this 1957 like Polish movie that I've just like, well, okay, we'll take that and just 21st century it. So yeah, I think me and Rob, we knew we had something kind of special. Kind of the same feeling as when we did Salt as well. We were like, oh wow, Salt's gonna blow up, and it did. But yeah, I don't think even in our wildest dreams we thought it would blow up like this.
You thought the horror community, I suppose, might embrace it, because
when it was announced in Deadline a few weeks ago, it obviously dropped into like Bloody Disgusting and Dread Central and stuff. And the comments underneath from people were like, I am not watching a Zoom movie. There's no way you can get me to watch a Zoom movie. And I think those same people are like giving us 5 stars on Letterboxd, and it's like, it's crazy. We're the #1 trending film on Letterboxd as well, and
really,
yeah, we're 100% on Rotten Tomatoes at the moment. Crazy.
You just made somebody's coming for you now because you said it out loud.
It's fine. Like,
you get Armand White coming after you.
You had in 6 days. You went from like, hey, at least we made a movie and it didn't. It all kind of works, because you don't know. You don't even have time to be divorced of it to like take a week off or anything. You couldn't take a week off. You're like, it's just done, I guess. Hopefully people like it, or maybe it disappears, whatever. And then by Sunday, probably millions of people have seen it and certainly are talking about it. And it's just the beginning of that. Which is
funny, because Shudder, their subscription base doubled in lockdown, so it's a very.
Told you that?
Oh no, I read a lot, and I saw that it's doubled, and so it's a great time to put a film out on Shudder, because millions of people are looking at it, and they really go all out, and like I can't think of ever getting this reaction if it just dropped on Netflix. I don't think it would get the same kind of love from the horror community and then the wider like film community as well. So yeah, really, really happy about it, obviously. and hopefully we'll get to do it again if people like it, and if Shudder let us, then it'd be great to do something else with them.
We'll wrap this up here in a second. I have 2 questions though for you. I don't know if Eric has. One of them is a spoiler, and one of them is more of like me just commenting. What a great way to end the movie. In the last 2 minutes or so of this, when their cameras start going off, and we're just giving that last feed. All I could think is, holy shit! Had they just ended the Zoom meeting, they might all still be alive. Had the host just canceled the meeting, this could have, that the demon is obviously not like in one spot. Was that your intention? If not, will that be your intention going forward? Because that's just how I read the ending.
Well,
go on,
Jem.
I was just going to say, I think that's a really interesting question, because that was a sort of, when we were trying to come up with the story, there's that kind of classic thing in these kind of films, like, why don't they just turn the camera off? Why don't they just like run out? Why don't they, why don't they? Which is always like a bump in like horror films generally, for like the realism.
In general, yeah.
But I think because of this really weird, unique situation where we are, like, everyone was separated, and the only way you can feel safe is by staying connected.
Yeah.
Like to each other, like if like shutting down the connection is like even worse, is even more like unsettling psychologically, I suppose, for the characters. So who knows, maybe if they did shut down the Zoom, they would have all been fine. But
that's where the COVID kind of strain, if you really want to go for metaphor, comes into me. It's like our desire for companionship and safety is actually like dangerous.
Well, I mean, that is my favorite. Like, this isn't even something that we intended. Like, my favorite moment of the film is that, like, elbow.
Hit that elbow, yeah, that was.
Oh my gosh!
And we originally, this is the crazy thing. Like, originally, the intention was the moment of connection in the film. These 2 girls who've been separated for months hug. And that's like that's the kind of climax of like, oh yeah, and it's like, oh holy shit! Like in a film where people's faces are set on fire, that is the most unsafe thing that we can do to our actresses.
Yeah,
which is just crazy.
Exactly.
But that is just I don't know.
Especially
that really emotional, because it's like
so related. So like
oh yeah. Anyway, so
you needed that relief at that moment too, and it's just like that's all you get, and you're like, oh man, they just brought me back and gave me a second to breathe before we get the Polaroid camera.
But it's also
out.
like, but you also like totally agree. You're like, yes, you maintain.
Yeah, but to your other point there, like going forward, I mean, I think people will probably want a host too, but I'm not sure that's the best thing to do next. Like a follow-up with the same situation and the same cast and the same demon, because that's what people are expecting. They're like, okay, there's massive success with this one film, they're just going to roll out a host too. But
no, the next one you do in 5 years, and it's more like a dinner party in real life. It's more of a classical movie.
5 years? No way. We've got 4 months left of the year. We're gonna.
They've made a movie in like 14 weeks. 5 years.
We still got half a year. The other note I wanted to make is how the film ends, because I was like, how the fuck is this going to end? Is it just going to cut? And then you see the Zoom call coming up to the free version ending. And I'm like, oh my god, this is good. I can't handle how good that is.
No, like that was going to be my
very start. Yeah,
that was going to be my comment. Is I've never been so like tense and terrifying with like the mix of what we're talking about, that flash and the flash there, and watching the clock go down. I'm like, it's coming. Oh, it's coming. Like that ending. It's fantastic. Yeah. Seriously, congratulations to both of you. Like, thank you. So, like, you've reached the
You saved Halloween. You gave everyone the haunted house. This is a haunted
That's
house.
great. Can you put that on Twitter that we saved Halloween, just so I can retweet it?
Yeah, I mean, certainly that's how I felt. Like, this is, you mentioned Wreck, and Wreck is a tremendous comparison to this, in that it just feels like you're in a haunted house. You don't know what's around the next corner, and in this, your corner is just this frame, which is just unbelievable. And yeah, congratulations to you both. This is tremendous.
And honestly,
what's
go ahead.
I'm sorry. You're on your T-shirt, and I think that sounds cool.
It's a film fest that I co-founded in Kansas City. So we're part of the last 3 years, Movie Maker Magazine's 20 best genre fests in the world.
Nice.
So we're up and coming. We're just we were one of the only fests that happened in America this year. It was us and Sundance. We were in January. So
wow, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll come to the next one, which is next year.
Can you imagine when we're allowed to do that again?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, thank you both so much. We won't keep you. I know you're on the tour and you need to get some rest. And
and I do want to thank you, because we started our podcast and Twitter was happening and you responded, and I'm like, this could not be more serendipitous. And thank you just for dropping things and coming to join us so instantly. It's so appreciated.
Pleasure.
It's cool. No worries. I really enjoyed it, and it's good to meet you guys. And hopefully we get to do it in real life at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you at Panic Fest.
Besides sharing host related stuff, where can people find you? You dropped that you're working with Sam Raimi. And so where can we find you both, and how can people stay connected to you both?
You can find me just on Twitter at Jed Shepherd. But can I just say, Gemma's got something coming out as well that's really, really cool. Not just me.
Oh, well, I mean, I do a lot of writers' rooms, like TV in Britain. So there's a, I didn't create it. It's a show by the Clarkson twins who worked on Mike Flanagan's Haunting of season. You might have heard of that. So they're doing a British horror TV show called Red Rose, which is hopefully coming out next year, like lockdown filming contingent. So Red Rose will be on Netflix next year.
Okay. That was my next question. Is this internationally available, or do we have to wait?
No.
Thank you. Fantastic.
Well, awesome. Congrats again to you both. And we'll be seeing hopefully a lot from you both in the next coming months.
Cool, thank you. Cheers.
I'm about to tweet about Halloween now, so look for it.
Stay safe, Halloween.
Yeah, bye guys.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Yeah,
Happy spookies.
Happy spookies. Bye.
Fantastic.
All right, that was Jed and Gemma, who graciously gave us an hour of their time to talk about the terrific new film, Host. It's going to be hard for me to not say The Host, which is two different other movies. One of them is a bad YA adaptation, and the other one, of course, is a tremendous monster movie. So, we can briefly talk about, because I know we talk with them about how much we like it and a couple of the beats, but both of us have we made this podcast in quarantine so that we could watch more movies and talk about more movies and give us a reason to hang out. That's kind of what happened
that's
here.
That's where their movie started. Well, it wasn't even that. They just had a movie club and they were all hanging out. And I don't know. I think everything our podcast has kind of led up to be about, this movie kind of encapsulates horror being happy accidents and things happening, and the allegory that kind of captures time that we kind of had discussed with them. It's just kind of I don't know, it's incredible to me, firstly, that they made this so quickly and it turned out so well. And it's also incredible to hear the process from their mouths of how it happened, and how it's just it's a cyclone of creativity that can lead to something. A cyclone
of creativity. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I can't believe you didn't say that on the podcast.
I know. It came out of my mouth and I was like, oh, in my own head, I was like, you brilliant son of a bitch. Did it again.
You did it again.
It's just really impressive to that they did this and that it turned out so powerful and such a great fun, great fun horror movie that I think everybody who professes to love horror should see right now, for sure.
Yeah, I think, I mean, this movie was just such a fun roller coaster ride. And as we're in August now, Halloween is all but canceled for the year. And this is a very fun movie that, I do love the cheap jump scares of a haunted house. And this movie satisfied all my desires here. So maybe, watch it now, watch it again in a couple months when Halloween comes around. Again, it's 56 minutes. This movie, I hope people learn that you can make a feature in an hour and have it have the connective tissue and the resonance that a 2-hour movie would.
And as they said, like the heart, like they have some 3-dimensional characters. I know they based them on real people, but there's a lot of layers, whether they're unpacked or not, that are there and like palpable. Like this is some, So it's I don't know how else to keep saying great, but it's great. I don't have another like cyclone of creativity phrase in me right now, but.
So does that mean we have to you and I need to do more work?
I think so,
because they did a terrific job here, and I feel like we need to step our game up.
Yeah, I don't know how you approach that. To me, I just saw the movie, and as you heard in the interview, it's like one of the first movies I've seen in a long time that physically affected me, where I was a little shaky after I watched it. And so I might be a little hyperbolic or exaggeration right now, but like I think this is one of those like Blair Witch wreck movies that we'll look back on like 20 years from now, where it was like this perfect like container of what this time was, and like these creative people coming together in this perfect way and capturing something that we'll all be talking about for a long, long time. And
it's definitely bigger than the moment.
Yeah. Like, and it's going to be, I think the same way that people talk about movies that changed like presentation and budgets and that sort of thing that we all talk about, that broke the rules and became something on their own, from Jaws to Blair Witch to like others. Like, I think this is going to be in that same category. And I mean, time could prove me wrong, but it feels like that right now.
Yeah. It's I don't think there's anything else to say, but this movie is more than just a moment in time that we're experiencing right now. I think it's going to change not just horror but cinema. I think we had a terrific evolution here. So we hope you enjoyed our conversation. We hope you enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will put this clip. I won't be lazy, because since you get Jed and Gemma video as well, I'll be sure to put this on YouTube. So if you'd rather watch it and see us all, you can go to YouTube and watch us there. I apologize. I was exercising, so I have my guns out and my Snake Plissken tank on. So sorry for the less than professional look, but
don't apologize. You look great.
Thanks. Thank you, Adam.
All right. Until next week, which we may be dropping with another guest. So stay tuned for that. We will see you. The hour may be over, but the clock keeps ticking. This is the Nightmare Hour podcast. Until next time, stay scared. You're supposed to say stay scared.
Oh, that's mine?
Yeah.
You didn't give me a script.
Stay scared, everybody.
Yeah. But not too scared, like comfortably scared.
Make sure you got your pajamas on.
Yeah. Night, night.